So, Godrick the Grafted, Lord of Stormvale. Despite being the blood of Godfrey, first Elden Lord, he's a grotesque old fool grasping for power. His castle lies upon the cliff to Limgrave's northwest, but I suspect you know that well enough already.
Elden Ring features numerous challenging bosses with unique designs and mechanics, staying true to From Software's tradition. While all bosses are crafted with great care, some stand out for their striking appearance or challenging gameplay, leaving a lasting impression on players. Acting as many players' first real roadblock, Godrick the Grafted can be found at the end of Stormvale Castle. Godrick appears with multiple limbs, each one looking disheveled and out of place on his body. But before players go on to face this wonderfully vile boss, they'll likely hear plenty about him from the game's NPCs, who all seem to share a clear hatred for the would-be ruler of the Lands Between. Prior to the player's journey through the fantastical world of Elden Ring's Lands Between, there existed a time of great prosperity. This golden era was brought about by the power of the Elden Ring, which was harnessed by the Erd Tree to bestow blessings of grace upon the land and its inhabitants. During this period of abundance, a noble lineage emerged, led by Queen Marika the Eternal and Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Together, they bore many children, among them a young Godrick, who struggled with deep-seated feelings of inadequacy. Despite being born into a family of powerful and accomplished individuals, Godrick perceived himself as weaker than his father and siblings, a belief that would haunt him throughout his life. Despite his insecurities, Godrick's lineage would eventually come to be defined by his legacy, as he rose to power and became a force to be reckoned with in the Lands Between. However, the emotional turmoil that fueled Godrick's ambitions would ultimately play a key role in shaping his destiny and setting the stage for the player's epic journey. Driven by his insatiable desire to prove himself and ascend to the ranks of the Elden Lords, Godrick embarked on a perilous quest to claim the fabled Elden Ring for himself. In his reckless pursuit of power, he triggered a devastating war among his siblings, plunging the once prosperous Lands Between into turmoil. As the conflict escalated, the horrific acts committed by the warring factions reached a tipping point, leading to the shattering of the Elden Ring itself. In the aftermath of this cataclysmic event, the Golden Children seized the powerful fragments of the Elden Ring, known as Great Runes, and retreated to their respective domains. While most of Godrick's siblings opted to conceal their Great Runes and remain in seclusion, Godrick saw this as an opportunity to seize total control over the Lands Between. Utilizing his Great Rune, he commanded an army of soldiers and knights to wreak havoc upon the land and its people, asserting his authority with ruthless efficiency. In doing so, he unleashed an era of darkness upon the once thriving world, solidifying his status as a fearsome and malevolent figure in the eyes of those who dared to oppose him. As players delve deeper into the treacherous world of Elden Ring, they will discover that he is one of the most loathed demigods in the realm. The reason for his widespread contempt can be traced back to a fundamental flaw in his character, an all-consuming inferiority complex. Godrick's relentless pursuit of greatness is driven by a deep-seated need to prove himself worthy of his noble lineage, and live up to the expectations set by his ancestors. However, his misguided methods of achieving this goal have only served to exacerbate his already tenuous standing among the people of the Lands Between. It is no secret that Godrick's thirst for power has led him down a path of ruthless brutality, and his actions have caused immense suffering and devastation across the realm. The resulting animosity towards him is palpable, with many denizens of the lands despising him for his despicable deeds. Indeed, it is difficult not to draw parallels between Godrick and the infamously despised King Joffrey, from George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. Both characters are consumed by their own delusions of grandeur and harbor a deep-seated sense of entitlement, leading them to commit heinous acts and earn the hatred of all those around them. As players brace themselves for an epic confrontation with Godrick, they can be sure that vanquishing this malevolent demigod will be no easy feat. The roots of Godrick's inferiority complex in Elden Ring can be traced back to the Shattering, where the Elden Ring was shattered into great runes by the Golden Children. In the midst of the ensuing war, Godrick chose to flee instead of facing his siblings, and in doing so, he stole valuable treasures and hid among the womenfolk. Elden Ring's General Radahn pursued him, but for reasons unknown, didn't push him as hard as he could have, perhaps considering him unworthy of his time. It's worth noting that his feelings of insecurity and inadequacy may have plagued him long before the Shattering. Nevertheless, this traumatic event and the subsequent flight were likely significant contributors to his twisted desire for power and control, over the lands between. These factors, combined with his tendency towards cruelty and viciousness, make him a formidable foe to face in the game. Godrick's downward spiral continued as he faced the wrath of Mjolnir, one of the toughest boss fights in Elden Ring. Even if Mjolnir was not at her best, Godrick's inferiority complex and overblown sense of self-importance left him groveling and begging for mercy. This was not the first time that a child of Marika spared Godrick's life, despite his many transgressions. Godrick's misguided attempts to assert himself as a powerful demigod and Lord of Limgrave were met with indifference from the human inhabitants of the region. As a result, he retreated to the safety of Stormvale Castle, where he remained in hiding. Despite his dreams of returning to the capital and claiming the throne, Godrick knew deep down that this was a laughable prospect. His inferiority complex and delusions of grandeur had left him isolated and powerless. Some Elden Ring players have speculated that Godrick's left leg might have been donated by either Commander O'Neill in Caelid, or Commander Niall at Castle Sol, both of whom are missing their right legs and wield similar halberds capable of summoning storm winds for certain attacks. According to one theory, Godrick was defeated by Mjolnir, who was fighting both Godrick and Radahn. Commander O'Neill is a soldier of Radahn and is said to be the sole veteran who remembers the battle with pride, as mentioned in the commander's standard item. It is possible that Mjolnir spared Godrick's life in exchange for trapping Radahn's soldiers, Niall's knights. And Godrick, being the treacherous individual he is, betrayed Radahn and sought refuge in Stormvale Castle. The veteran's prosthesis item reveals that Niall offered the prosthesis in exchange for the lives of defeated knights held prisoner. So it is possible that Niall offered the prosthesis and his leg, and Godrick accepted the offer. Godrick went on to lead these men as an army of no nation. It is possible that Niall sacrificed his leg to free his soldiers from Godrick's clutches, which in turn led to Godrick obtaining the prosthesis. Niall then went north to the mountaintop of the giants and took refuge in Castle Sol, suggesting he may have played a role in Mikla's quest to restore Godwyn the Golden Soul. Godrick is known to be a tough boss in Elden Ring for players with low levels. However, in New Game Plus, he becomes one of the easiest bosses to defeat. Despite this, his insecurities are still evident in his boss fight. He captured some Tarnished and began fusing parts of their bodies onto his own to create a multi-limbed creature. Even a troll and a dragon's body were attached to him during the fight. All of this was done to compensate for his lack of power and his fear of the Tarnished. Godrick is not the only descendant of the Golden lineage to resort to this practice, as his cousin Godfroy the Grafted also did so in an attempt to mimic the power of their ancestors. However, Elden Lord Godfrey and Godwyn, his predecessors, did not need attached body parts to display their power. Godwyn was a beloved demigod, whereas Godrick is one of the most hated descendants. Godrick's grafting only highlights his insecurities, which is why it is a crucial aspect of his boss fight in Elden Ring. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as it really helps us grow. We upload videos like this regularly on the channel. Click that notification bell to stay updated on our latest videos and releases.